Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I am doing a full solo playthrough of Weather Machine. This was my most anticipated game of 2022, and it has not disappointed. In Weather Machine, we play scientists working for the mad Professor Lativ. He dreamed of ending natural disasters once and for all, and he invented a weather machine. Unfortunately, while his invention did succeed in controlling local weather, it turned out to have devastating side effects, creating extreme weather across the world, threatening to end humanity. It is our job to create a new prototype weather machine with the government's help that will eliminate extreme weather and save humanity. Now, this is a big, heavy Euro, so I just set everything up ahead of time. When you're playing the solo game, you want to make sure you only have 2 of each of the different types of research tokens. In the lab, you want to set out all 5 of the neutral robots in each of the branches. Now, normally in a 2-player game, you would block the 3rd worker placement spot in each of the 3 different main locations, but in the solo game, you leave those open. You're going to set up your player board just as you normally would, taking a random workshop space and a random machine part. The gold tiles are very different, however. Instead of taking 3 of each type, you want to only take 2. You want to make sure that they are completely different. None of the icons in the center can match. And you have to make sure that you don't have any of the tiles that have the little crown with the equal sign. Our solo opponent is known as the Saboteurs. You want to get a separate set of player colors for them. I've chosen yellow. And you want to put their score marker on space 35 of the score track. That is our target victory point score that we're trying to achieve. The Saboteurs take 2 random chemicals. You then shuffle their deck and draw cards until you come across a card that has a specific location. Then whichever of the 2 Saboteurs is shown, you place them at that location in the center worker placement spot. You then take a research tile from that spot that matches the weather type that's shown on the card. Place that card in the discard pile, and then repeat that same process for the other Saboteur. In our case, the pink Saboteur is going to start in the government location, and the gray Saboteur is starting in the lab location. You then draw the top card. That will be their current report, and the top card of the discard pile is known as the previous report. That will come into play when they take their actions, as you'll soon see. Our pawn starts in the supply location along with Professor Lativ, and we begin as the first player. And there we go, we're all set up and ready to play. So what does all that awesome theme mean for gameplay? Well, this is just a worker placement game where we have 1 worker. Think Kanban or the Gallerist. We have 4 worker placement areas that we can go. To the left is the government location. In the middle is the lab. To the right is R&D. Those are the 3 main locations. And then down here, we have the supply. That's where we start, and it functions a little bit differently than the other 3 locations, which is why it's not considered to be a main location. At each of these, we have 3 worker placement spots so we can go. And there are 2 different actions that you could take. If you go to the leftmost worker placement spot, you can take both actions. But if you go to one of the 2 right spots, you can only do one of those 2 actions. I'll be going into detail exactly how all of these actions work as we play, just as I normally do. But in terms of just a big picture of what we're trying to do, we're trying to create a prototype for a new weather machine. Prototypes that will deal with these 5 different extreme weather events. And there's quite a process that goes into doing that, but the first step is to get a set of these research tokens. And by a set, I mean 1 of each of the 3 colors of the same weather type. We're going to be collecting those down here in our office on our player board. And which weather type we choose to focus on is really going to depend on how things shake out. But just keep in mind, we're really trying to get 3 of the same weather type. That's super important. Once we do that, we can publish a paper, and then we can have a breakthrough, and that's really how we're going to get the bulk of our points. Now, at the beginning of the game, we start here in the supply area, and we do a little bit of setup, but it's almost like we're taking our first action here in this location. So technically, this is still part of setup, but it gives me a chance to explain how the supply works. So we're just going to jump right in, get started by taking an action here in the supply. This is where we go to get a bunch of stuff. Chemicals, unlock our robots that are here on our board, which is very important. Build out some more workshop spaces. We start with these 3 spaces and then the one that we got at the beginning of the game, but we can build out and get some more so we can hold some more stuff. And then lastly, you can switch turn order here as well. But since we start as first player, we don't need to do that. Now, in order to buy these things, we're going to be spending our supply vouchers, and these vouchers are extremely important. You can see here on our player board, we have vouchers for each of the 4 different worker placement locations. So we have supply, government, lab, and R&D. And then we have a 5th one here, which is science vouchers, and there are certain things that are going to require science vouchers, but they can also be used as a wild voucher to replace any of the other ones. At the beginning of the game, we start with 4 supply vouchers, 1 of each for the main actions, and then 2 science. Now, normally we're going to be spending vouchers in order to take these actions at the different main locations, but here in supply, we actually spend supply vouchers to get stuff. And right off the bat, I want to get at least 1 robot. Every single one of these left actions at these main locations requires a robot. And so we're going to need a bunch of robots. Now, it costs either 1 supply voucher to unlock one of these 3 robots, 2 supply vouchers to unlock those 3, and then the ones down here we actually don't have access to yet. You have to either unlock all 6 of these robots before you can start taking these 3, and then you have to unlock these 3 in order to take those 3. Or if you get enough research on your board, then you can also unlock those. But for right now, we only have this upper part to think about. And honestly, I'd like to just spend 1 voucher to get one of these leftmost robots. And depending on which one I get, I'll get a voucher of that type. Now, I anticipate that I'm going to be wanting to go to the government to get some subsidies right away. So I'm going to take this robot right here. And he's going to go right here in my workshop. This top area right here can hold 1 of any chemical. This spot right here can hold 1 of any machine part. And this spot right here can hold 1 robot. This workshop I got here, this extension, in the middle here, it can hold either a robot or a machine part. So I could store my robot here, but for right now, I'm just going to put it right there. And when I unlock that, I get a government voucher. Now, I can take as many actions here as I want in any combination. So I could get another robot if I want. I think what I'd like to do first is to get another bit of workshop here. Now, you can see here, that costs 1 supply voucher. And I can take any of these. I think I want this one right here. I could put it down here. I could put it up here. Or I could put it even right here if I wanted. If I put it below or above, it has to match and create a full circle. The colors have to match. I actually want to put it up here. And in doing that, I've created a full white circle there. That now becomes a place that can store one of these white chemicals. So while this spot can hold any chemical, the ones in here can only hold the one, based on its color. Now, you should also keep in mind that your workshop can only be 3 spaces tall, so we can't extend it further beyond these 3. But it can go as far to the right as we want it to. This area is immediately refilled, and so I could get another workshop if I wanted. I think I want to get some chemicals. Now, we have a little chemical market here. Any chemicals that are in this first area, you can see here, only cost 1 supply. You can also sell chemicals back, and if they were to go into this space, you'd gain 1 supply. And then over here, it costs 2, or you gain 2, and then here it's 3. So right now everything's super cheap, so I think I will spend a supply, and I think I will grab one of those white chemicals that I can now hold. There we go. I think I feel like getting another robot. So that'll be one supply, because I'm going to grab this robot right here. That will give me a lab voucher. I could store it in either of those two places, doesn't matter. And now I'm out of supply vouchers, but I could use my science if I wanted to do another thing here. And you know what? I think I do. I'm going to spend one of my science vouchers as a supply, and I'm going to grab a pink chemical and store it right there. Okay, I think I want to save that last science, so that's it. I'm done. I'm done with setup at this point, and now we can begin the game, and we are first player, so we get to go right away. Now, the first thing you get to do on your turn is you can use one of your subsidies or investment tiles. Now, because it's the beginning of the game, we don't have any of those, so we're going to skip that phase right now. The next thing we do is we have to move our pawn to a different location. We can't stay in the same location. I want to jump on something that I see here in the government location, so I'm going to come over here. Now, normally I would have a choice of either going to this leftmost spot or the rightmost spot. Obviously, I can't go where the Saboteur is. But in round one, there's a special condition where you can't go to that leftmost space. So I have to go here. When I go here, I actually collect a voucher. In that case, that's the lab voucher. So I get one of those, but I also get a second one because you get an extra one for every piece that's to your left. So there's one piece to my left, I actually get another lab voucher. And because I'm in one of these right two spaces, I can only do one of these two actions. I have to choose. I can do either one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this leftmost action. And as you can see right there, it shows the cost. It costs one government voucher for me to take that action. If I had decided to do this rightmost action, it would have cost 2 government vouchers. And that holds true for each of these locations. The left action costs 1 voucher of that type, and the right one costs 2. Now that I paid my voucher, I get to move up on the corresponding track. You never get any reward right away for moving up the track. That's something that happens later. You don't need to worry about those tracks too much right now. I'll explain that when it comes up. Now it shows that we get to place one of our unlocked robots into one of these spaces. And you can see here, each of these spaces shows a machine part that you then have to spend. Now we started with one of these machine parts. That's actually a pink machine part. It can be hard to tell from the red, but you can see the spokes are very different. So you don't actually have to look at the color, you can look at the spokes. So that means because we have a pink machine part, I could place either here, or here. And I want to go right there. I then take my machine part and I replace one of these subsidy tiles with it. I can take any of those 3 in this column. All 3 of those, honestly, are quite good. But I have a plan, and I want this one right here. We take this token and we place it blue side up right here on the side of our board. That represents some help that the government is giving me that I can take advantage of at the beginning of one of my turns. All of these tokens are one use, though, so I'll only get to use it once. And essentially, this particular token is going to let me take this action, this leftmost action here in the lab, without having to spend a chemical to do so. So that's pretty cool. Now, lastly, I get a research token in the column. It goes up here on this part of my board until the end of my turn. And since that's actually the end of that action, and I only get to do one, this is the end of my turn, so I now have to place this somewhere in my office. And you can see it's a blue research token, so it's going to go in one of these spaces. And these are all the same except for these 2, which will give me a immediate little bonus. Either an extra move up the government track, or 2 supply vouchers. I'm pretty keen on that, so I think I'll place it right here and immediately collect those 2 supply vouchers. And there we go. That was my first action. That robot's going to be stuck there for the rest of the game, and that's why unlocking robots is so important. But anyway, now that I'm done, it's now time for the Saboteurs to take their turn. On the Saboteur's turn, you look at their current card. In this case, it shows that the pink spy is going over to R&D. Now, they're going to take the first space if they can. I'm not certain if the Saboteurs are restricted the same way that we are on our first turn, where we are not allowed to go into the first location. My guess is they aren't restricted the same way we are, and so that they will go to the first worker placement location. You can see here on the card, they have an A, B, and a C. That's just showing that they're going to go to the leftmost location. If that's blocked, they'll go to the rightmost. And then if that's blocked, they'll go to the middle. Now, the Saboteurs, they don't deal with vouchers or any of that stuff. They don't collect machine parts. They don't care about subsidy tokens or investment tokens or any of that kind of thing. They just care about research tokens and chemicals. And they also take actions differently than us. Now, the game comes with both a entire little booklet here that explains every single action that they could take. And it's also represented right here in some crazy icon form. I'll try to walk through these carefully. Now, because they went to the leftmost spot, they're going to get to do 2 actions, essentially doing both of the different types of actions, just like we would be able to. The first action that they're going to do, they want to place a robot out onto one of these gear spaces. And the space that they're going to choose is dictated by the previous card, the face-up card in the discard pile. Here it shows the wind, and it shows the lowest location. So they're going to go to the wind track here. They're going to pick the lowest location, and they're going to put their robot there. Each of these cards has a bottom area that shows a weather type and a priority, either lowest or highest. Now, if they happen to have a chemical that matches the chemical shown right there, in this case a green, they would place the chemical there and get one of these research tokens. However, in this case, they don't have a green chemical. So instead, they place their robot there, but they don't get a research token. So there you go. That's the first action. They're only going to take that action when they're able to go to this leftmost spot. Otherwise, if they're in either of the 2 rightmost spots, they're going to skip that action, and they're going to instead just do the second action, which works similarly but a little bit different. They're going to put another robot out, but in this case, they're going to be a little bit more strategic about where they go. So rather than just looking down here and placing one basically at random, they're going to look to try to collect research tokens that match research tokens that they already have. So in this case, they have one for snow and one for wind. So we have the wind column right there and the snow column there at the end. Both of those are tied for them. They have one of each of them. So as far as they're concerned, both of those are equally good. They're then going to look to see if they have a chemical that matches one of the space in the column. And you can see here they have a blue, so that means they could play either in the wind or the snow. Again, they're tied for them. It's the same. So in order to break the tie, they're going to come down here and look at the weather priority of the previous card. Again, the card that's on top of the discard pile. In this case, it happens to be a wind, so that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to the wind spot. So they're just going to go right there, and they're going to place their chemical on there. And then they're going to get a research token. Just like us, the Saboteurs are trying to make complete sets, and they're going to go to places that help them achieve that. Okay, so there we go. That's the end of their turn. We take their current card, we put it on top of their discard pile, and then we draw the next one. It means that we have a little bit of knowledge about what they're going to do next. In this case, we can see that the gray spy is going to go to whatever location Professor Lativ is. In this case, he's here in the supply. Now that we have both taken actions, a couple of things happen. It's actually shown right here on the board. We go to phase B, which is the machine, the old weather machine of Professor Lativ activates. Now right here we have Lativ's robot assistant, and he is currently in this branch right here, the snow branch. In order for this to activate, two things need to be true. One, each of these 3 spaces in that branch need to have robots on them. Now we have one little neutral robot here, and he is kind of floating around. He's not in any one of those spaces. It's just kind of there helping out. But we can see we would need 2 more robots there in order for that to activate. The other thing you need is you need to have one of these active experiments matching that weather type. Right now we have wind, rain, and sun. We don't have any snow, so really we're failing both conditions for this to activate. So when it doesn't activate, all you do is you remove the neutral robot that's there. The assistant moves to the next space. In this case, it wraps around and comes back over here. And if there had been a snow tile up there, we would remove it from the game, slide everything over, and new experiments would replace it. But since there wasn't one up there, we just leave it alone. Now we can see for next time, it looks like we're going to be doing a rain experiment, and there is one up there. So if 2 more robots show up in that location, then that means that we'll have an active experiment going next round. And that's precisely what I want to happen. And you'll see, hopefully I can make it work. After we do that, we move on to C. Now this would only happen if Dr. Lativ has worked his way all the way over to this 5th location. This isn't a worker placement location. This is just a place that Dr. Lativ can go. We haven't seen him move around yet, but he can move around to these different spots. If he's there, then at this point we would get income. This is also when we would exchange turn order if someone had come to the supply and mess with turn order. Since none of that happened, we can skip that and we can go right back to the beginning and our turn. Okay, at the beginning of round 2, I have the choice of using one of these subsidies if I want. I do have one, but I'm going to choose not to use it at this time. So then we go immediately on to moving our worker. Again, I can't stay in the same location. I have to move. I'm coming all the way over here to R&D. I'm going to take that far right position. As you can see, I'm going to get 1 government voucher plus 1 because there's 1 person to the left of me. So I got 2 government vouchers there. And I'm going to have to spend 1 R&D voucher because I'm going to be taking this left action. I move up 1 on the track, and I get to place my robot out on one of these locations. I'm going to go right here to this bottom location. Now, these bottom locations have a little bit of an extra cost. As you can see here, I have to pay a white chemical. But then here on the right, it shows that I have to pay an additional chemical of any type. So I got this pink. Instead of going on the board, it comes back into the supply. Now my reward for going there is another robot. And again, I can't get any from down here, but I can get any from up here, and I don't have to pay the voucher cost. That seems really, really good. In fact, I think I'll take this robot right there. Would normally cost 2 vouchers, but don't have to pay those. And I do get the reward, which is a gear of my choice, a machine part. Now, in deciding what color I want, I'm going to be looking over here to the government side because that's where I'm going to be spending it most likely. If there's a subsidy there that I really like, ooh, there is. I'm going to take a green and place that in my workshop. So I got my reward, and now I get to have the research token from that column. And again, it goes here until the end of your turn. This is the end of my turn, so I now get to place it out. Now, I can't place it in this same spot here because you have to have the same type in each row. But I will place it here so that, well, it's a hard choice. Yep, I think I will. I'll place it here so I can get 2 more supply vouchers. There we go. So we're doing pretty good with our vouchers here. We're pretty filled up. It's very important that you maintain those because you don't want to get too low. We come over here, we look at our Saboteur. It looks like the gray spy is going to go wherever Professor Lativ is, which is in the supply. So they're just going to take that spot right there. And whenever someone goes to the same location where Professor Lativ is, he's going to move on to the next location. So he goes from location 1 over here to location 2. He always wants to take the leftmost spot. And then in a 2-player game, and we are sort of playing as if this was a 2-player game, he's going to remove one of these research tokens. And he's going to remove the research token based on where his assistant is. So right now his assistant is in the rain. So he's going to remove the rain research token, and that goes out of the game. He's going to do that anytime he enters into the government location or the R&D location. Hopefully I won't forget to do that. It's very easy to forget. The last thing he does is he wants to place one of his robots back out to help with these experiments. Now he's going to place it where his assistant is, but you can see there's already a robot there, and you can never have 2 neutral robots in the same spot. So he's just going to keep going over until there's an empty space, which is going to be right back over there. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, we can do the Saboteur's turn. And when they go to the supply, it's a very simple turn. They are going to switch turn order. If they had already been first, then they just would have gotten 2 points. And when they get points, our target goal just pushes further and further away from us. So it's kind of like they're scoring points, and it's kind of like it's forcing us to score more points to win. And then they get 2 more chemicals. Now, when selecting chemicals, they want to get different chemicals than the ones they already have, and they want to get the cheapest ones. Now, right now, all the chemicals are cheap, equally cheap, and all they have is fire. So we're going to consult their card over here to see how to break the tie. Right here, it shows that the priority is on top. So they're going to take this one and this one. These 2 that are on top. And add them to their supply. There we go. That was their turn. So we discard. Draw a new one. Now again, that was both of our round 2 actions. We check to see if the machine will run. Not enough robots for it to run, so it's not going to run. This guy goes away, this guy moves, and that rain experiment that didn't run gets discarded. Everything slides over. Keep in mind that it's just those 3 that are sort of the active experiments. Here we're just getting to see what's coming up next so we can plan ahead. Okay, so that was that. Now we come over here and we can see that the Saboteurs did change turn order. And so this is when it happens right now. And that actually means that they get to go again. They're going to get 2 turns in a row. Okay, we consult the card here. It looks like the gray spy is going right on back. You can see it wants to go in the A position, but Professor Lativ's there, so it's going to go into the B location, which is the rightmost spot. And as shown here in the middle part of the card, they're going to get a point for every player, every piece that's to the left of them. And they don't get vouchers, so instead they get points for everyone to the left of them. And Professor Lativ counts. So our goal just got 1 higher. And once again, Professor Lativ's a bit of a loner. He doesn't like to be in the same location as someone else. He's going to move on. And he's going to put that robot back. Okay, so now the gray spy isn't in the first position. So they don't get to do this top action. They only get to do the bottom one. In this case, they just want to put a robot out in a place that's going to get them a research token that's going to help them to create a set. Now, in this case, they already have the blue wind, so that's not going to help them create another set. They need the blue snow, so that's the one that they really want to go after. Now, normally when we go here to help the government, we have to spend machine parts. The saboteurs don't deal with machine parts, they only deal in chemicals, and so that's what they're going to use. And they can replace these red wheels with a red chemical. They always go to the leftmost spot. This chemical comes back to the supply and gets replaced with a red machine part. And then we check this card here to see what's their priority, higher or lower. It looks like it's higher. So they take that, this subsidy goes out of the game, and then they get the research. And so there we go. They're only one away from both of these, collecting those sets. And when they do, bad stuff happens. So it'd be nice if we could prevent them from doing that. Discard. Draw a new one. Ooh, I don't like that card particularly. Well, we might have to do something about that card. But for right now, it's our turn. First things first is we can use our subsidy if we want to. And I think I do. I think I would like to use it. So we're going to flip it over to show that we've used it. These are one-time use. And this particular subsidy lets me take the leftmost action here in the lab. Now, the cool thing is you get to do it without having to spend the voucher. And as you see here, I can do this action without having to spend the chemical that I normally would have to, which is good because I don't have any chemicals. So the first thing that happens is I get to move up the track. And then I have to place a robot on one of these spaces. I think I'll go ahead and place it here on this blue. Now, normally in order to do that, I would have to play a blue chemical there, but because of the subsidy, I don't have to. And then nothing else happens. That's all that does. So now I get to move my character. And as you can see here, I'm out of robots. That means I could only do the right actions of any of these places. I haven't explained any of those, but these two rightmost actions you can only do if you have a complete set in your office. So those are sort of later game things. I'm not there yet. I could come here and take this action, but I think instead I'd rather go to the supply. So I'm going to move my character down here. You want to take the leftmost spot here. And as you can see, you can immediately get a voucher of your choice. And that includes a science voucher. So I think I'll take that. You would then pay any vouchers for each person that was to the left of you. So in this case, having people to the left of you is actually a bad thing. Luckily, I'm the only one here. So now I can just take actions, just like we did when we were setting up. We can spend our supply vouchers to just get stuff. Now, obviously, I really want a robot, so I'm just going to spend one, get this robot off the board. That's going to give me an R&D voucher. Now, if I want to get another robot, it's going to have to be one of these, and I kind of think I do want to do that. I also would like to add to my warehouse and get some chemicals. Now, what chemical do I want? I wouldn't mind having a red. Let's go ahead and spend one supply voucher to expand our warehouse. We'll do it like that. That opens up a spot for a red chemical. And in fact, let's go ahead and spend one to get one of those. I tell you what, before we do that, let's do this in a slightly different way. Also, I need to refill that. Before I do that, I'm going to spend 2 supply and get this robot, which is going to give me 1 supply right back. And then I'll spend that supply to get this red chemical. Now, I do have 2 science vouchers, so I guess I could spend one of those. I want to have 1. Okay, while I'm here, I guess I might as well do that. Okay, let's go pink. It'll go right there, and we'll spend 1 of our science. So we still have 1 science left over. That was my action done. And I was second player there, so we're going to run the machine. You can see here, there's only 2 spots there, so this neutral one's taking up one of them, but there's not enough robots there, so we're not going to run this experiment. This matching one goes away. This robot goes off, and this guy moves on. And now you can see we are lined up here. If we can get one more robot in there, then that sun experiment will activate, and that's going to be good for us. Okay, so we did all that. We would adjust turn order if I had done that, and then there we go. It's going to be the Saboteur's turn, and that's the end of round 3. Okay, here we go. The pink spy going to the lab. Wants to go there, can't. Gonna go there. Gonna get 1. Here we go. Lativ moving. He's gone to R&D, so he's going to take away one of the research wherever his assistant is. Boom, this one. And that is working out fantastically. He's taking away the one that I had just gotten, so that's good. Yep, and then he also brings back this robot. He doesn't like his robots to not be working. Good. And now the pink robot takes the action. They're going to skip the first action because they're not in the leftmost spot. Now they're going to pick one of these columns or branches, as they're called in the game. They want to go to the one that has the most robots on it. That's sort of their first thing that they look for. Now keep in mind that robot, I'm in that spot, but this neutral robot isn't in any one of the spots. But unfortunately, they don't have the chemicals to go into either of those 2 spaces. So they're not going to go there. They're only going to go to a space where they have the chemicals for, to actually be able to go there. The rest of them are tied, each with just 1 robot. And it looks like they could go into any of the other ones. Now they're also going to look at what experiments are available. And they're not going to go into a branch where there isn't an experiment that's one of the 3 that are in the sort of the ready display. That means they're either going to go to this one or that one. Then they're going to go to the one that's going to give them the best opportunity of completing a set. And as you can see, they already have this one, but you can have multiple research tokens of the same type. It'll just start a new set. And they don't have this one, so I think those 2 are considered to be equal. At which point, when there's still a tie, they're going to go to the discarded card and they're going to look at the weather there. The rain. And now they're just going to count back until they hit one of those 2. That's going to be this one. So that is the branch that they're going to go into. They're going to spin this. It's going to go back into the supply. And they put their robot there. So there we go. Discard that. Draw a new one. And now it's our turn. Okay, I don't have any subsidies, so we're going to move. We want to go right to there. I could go in the leftmost spot, but I can't take this action anyway, so there's really no reason to. I'm just going to go right there. No one to the left of me, so I'm not going to get any extra vouchers. I'm just going to get the 1 R&D. And then we're going to be taking this action, so I have to spend a lab voucher. I get to move up on that track. And then I place a robot onto one of these branches, and I'm going to place it right here. That cost me a red chemical. And there we go. That's it. That's that whole action. A very quick round, but look at what's happened here. We have a full active column with enough robots, and we have an experiment that's available. So that experiment is going to activate, finally. So let's see what happens. And in fact, we can follow along right here. It shows you exactly what happens if you can read those icons. So first of all, in order to be able to take advantage of the special abilities of that tile, you can see there, it's going to cost 1 science voucher. And luckily, I have one all saved up for this very purpose. Now, if you look at the bottom there, it shows 5 victory points. That means we're going to score 5 victory points for every robot that we remove from this branch. We are removing 2 robots. They're going to go into our warehouse. We get 5 points for each of them. That's 10 points. We now have a choice of benefit. We could take either 2 machine parts, or we could take an investment tile. Now, the problem is I only have room for 1 machine part. I kind of miscalculated the robot situation. So I'd really only get 1 machine part or an investment tile. The investment tiles are really important, but machine parts are important too. They're both important. And machine parts are hard to come by. You may have noticed you can't just get them here in the supply. You have to get them using these special abilities and various things. So it's hard to turn down even 1 machine part. I think I'm going to take the investment tile. So you just grab one of these and you put them off to the side of your board here. So instead of doing a subsidy, you can instead activate one of your investment tiles, and you'll see shortly what you do with those. Okay, excellent. And now, most importantly, we get this research. And again, we'll add it to our board at the end of our turn. Thematically, we've been sort of studying the old weather machine. We've actually activated it. We've learned a lot by activating it. The problem is, when we activate this machine, bad stuff happens in the rest of the world. And that's exactly what we do now, is we have to add one of the level 2s on top of our level 1s. The weather has gotten worse. And since it's the sun, we're going to be adding that tile. We're now at a level 2 sun weather event over there. Means it's going to be a little bit harder to deal with in some ways. But the positive side of that is we did get some research that's going to help us create these breakthroughs and new prototypes. Don't worry, we're the good guys. We're the good guys here. All right, so now this guy goes away. And actually, in a 2-player game, when the neutral activates on a location here and help to activate that location, they actually take one of the research and it goes out of the game. And then we remove the experiment. Slide everything down as normal. The robot moves on. And there we go. That was the end of the round. Okay, we're going to try to do things a little bit quicker now. We can see here the gray Saboteur moving over here. That's going to be a point. Professor Lativ moves down to his spot that only he can go to in location 5. When he moves, he adds his robot. And really, they really want to go into the winter location, because that is what they need to complete their set here. Unfortunately, they don't have the chemicals for it. They would need a red or a blue, so that's a real bummer for them. So really, they have a couple. They can only place in the green, because that's the only one that they have. Seems as if this one gets them an extra research token. Here, they don't get a research token. So I think I might have this wrong. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this helps them the most. And then they get this token. They already have one of those, but now they can start a new set. That gets them closer to creating another set than this one would. So I think that's how you break that tie, but I could be wrong about that. Oh, and I'm just seeing that I had forgotten to place this down. Not a big deal. It's just going to go right there in our office, and don't get any abilities or any kind of resources for placing there. Okay, that's them. They're done. Our turn, and we have this investment tile that we could then activate if we want. Do I want to? That is the question. I will use this. Now, an investment tile lets you do 2 things. One, it lets you play out one of your 6 in-game goal tiles. Now, I haven't discussed these yet, but we started with these 6. In order to score them at the end of the game, you have to use an investment tile to activate them and put them here on your board. So I'm going to get this one right here. I'm going to put this scoring tile down. Now, this is saying that we need to have at least 10 robots activated at the end of the game. Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem. We already have 5. I like having a lot of robots. Now, I could place it either here or here. I'm going to place it here, and that's going to let me get a machine part of my choice. And I want a pink. It's going to go right there. Okay, so we can only do one of those at the beginning of our turn, so that was good. Next, we get to move. I'm going to move over here, and for the first time, we're going to go into that first location that's going to let us do both actions. First, we get a lab voucher. Okay, so now we're going to do this. That's going to cost 1 government voucher. We get to move up that track. Get to place our robot. I want to place our robot right here on that green gear or machine part. I have the green machine part. Now I could take any of those, and this is the hard choice. I got to do it. I'm going to take this. That's going to go right there. And we get the research. Again, we're going to put it at the end of our turn, but that's going to complete our set of sun research, and that's going to open up a few more actions for us, a few more ways of getting some points. Now we're going to go do this second action for the first time. You can see here it costs 2 government vouchers. Luckily, I was all filled up. And what this lets us do is select one of these available subsidies and activate it right away. And in addition, get a few extra vouchers depending on where we take it from. And the one I want to activate is this one right here. So we flip it over, and because of where we flipped it from, we're going to get 1, 2 science vouchers. That's incredible. Okay, that's what that is. Then we get to actually immediately get the benefit of that subsidy. And that's the same subsidy that we had before. Now, keep in mind, you cannot have the same subsidy here on your board. So I can't take that one and bring it back down here, but I can activate it here. So this is going to let me take this action without having to spend that voucher. Get to move up on that track. Place a robot out. And now here's the thing. Remember how I said that robot is not blocking me from going into this space. It's just there to help. And so I'm going to kick it out of that space, and I'm going to go there. Now, obviously, if there had been another spot for this to go, it would have gone there. But because we're all filled up in that branch, it just goes back off to the side. And there we go. I've now snuck in there so that I can take advantage of this as well. So that's cool. Did 1 action, did 2 actions. I can now place this down here on my board. I now have a complete set, which means I can now publish a paper about my findings. And hopefully I'll be able to do that next round. Well, let's come down here. We're all filled up, and we have an experiment, so it activates. This time it's the wind. So I'm going to spend a science so I can take advantage of this. That's going to be 2 points for every robot that I remove. I removed 1. But the Saboteurs also had a robot there, so they get 2 as well. So it didn't really gain any ground there. And then we both get the research. Running out of space here to show all this. There we go. And we'll put our research here, and actually we have to place it immediately because we just got it. Ooh. Yeah, okay, I'll put it here so I can get 2 supply vouchers. That seems fine. And now I could take another lab action. But as you can see there, it doesn't have the sort of cross with the chemicals. So that means that you can take that action, but you have to spend the chemical. I don't have any chemicals, so I'm going to take the investment token instead. Oh, and there's consequences. Now, I should mention that one of the ways that we can lose the game is if there are 2 level 3 extreme weather events happening at the end of our turn. So 2 can come out there, but we have till the end of our turn to take care of it, or we actually lose the game immediately. So we're going to want to keep a little eye on those weather events there. Okay, move on. And now, turn order stays the same, but Professor Lativ is here in his office, so we have an income phase. The way the income phase works is we just get everything that we've unlocked from this top section, where you can see that little green exclamation mark. So that means I'm going to get a lab, R&D, government, supply, and a machine part. I'm going to get a green. He then goes back to the 1 position. And there we go. We start again. Okay, so this is interesting. The Gray Saboteur wants to go where they already are. And again, you have to move to a different location. So they're just going to wrap around. They're going to go to the next spot. And they're never going to go to the supply unless they're like specifically told to. So in this case, we're going to wrap around to the government office, and they're going to go right there. That's going to give them a point because I'm to their left. And they're only going to take the bottom action here. Well, it looks like they have a problem because they don't have any chemicals, which means they're not going to be able to go to any of these places because they spend chemicals. So when something like this happens, when they are unable to go to any of the branches, what you do is you discard the top card of their deck. And the reason you're doing that is because this deck is a bit of a timer. Another way that we can lose the game is if this deck runs out and then it's the start of their turn and there's no cards left. So by doing this, they've kind of sped up the game a little bit. And then they're going to take a random chemical. Again, they want different ones and they want cheap ones. Those are all even. So we're going to look here. Looks like the bottom one is favored. So they're going to grab that. And then they ignore everything else. And that becomes their entire turn. So in some ways that was good, but in other ways we've kind of sped up the game. It means we need to be a little faster. Okay, our turn. And I think I have figured out how to do this, but I could be wrong. I think I want to activate this subsidy. So this one is going to let us do this left action of the R&D without having to spend the voucher and without having to spend the chemical that we would normally have to. So I'm going to go... Oh, well, first of all, we get to move up the track. Can't forget that. Another thing that's very easy to forget. And which of these branches do I want to go on? Well, you can see here I'm working on both wind and rain. They're both interesting. I think I'm going to go to wind, and I think I'm going to come down here. That's the spot that lets me unlock another robot. Now, I don't have to spend the chemical, but I do have to spend whatever this extra thing is. And in the case of that one, it is a machine part. So I'm going to discard one of my machine parts so that I can go there. And then I get to unlock my last robot from up here. That also is going to give me a science. And then I get that token, that research. And whoop, it goes up there until the end of my turn. Oh, and I almost forgot. When you do that, you take it from here and you place it out there. So even though you don't have to spend it, it still goes there and stays there. That's one of the ways that the chemicals get depleted from the market. So you can see now blue is a little bit more expensive. Okay, so now I got to move, and I wanted to go... Yeah, I just want to go here. I would get an R&D voucher, but I'm all filled up, so I can't get anything there. And I'm actually going to do this second action. This is the publish a paper action, and you can only do it if you have a complete set. which I now do. So it's going to cost me 2 vouchers. You slide this token over to show that you've published a paper, and you get the reward that you slide over. In this case, I get 2 machine parts of my choice. I'm going to go double pink. You then get to unlock that lock token here of the type. So we're doing sun, so we get to unlock that. This just gets taken out of the game. And you can see up here, it's real small, that we can spend a science to get 3 points. Anytime you remove a lock, you can spend a science to get 3 points. We then get to score points for our paper, and that is shown right up here on your board. Depending on the type of research token you have, in this case, we just have the regular kind, so that's just going to be 2, 4, 6 points. So we're up to 21 now, not too bad. And then last but not least, you get an investment tile. There we go. We published a paper, end of our turn. We can now place this. Going to go right here. So we're close to creating another set. That's awesome. Now, the reason we unlock that is because now that I've published a paper on the topic of the extreme heat, that means that other players, including the Saboteur, can then use my research, which means they need 1 less research token in order to create a set. Right? You can do what's called a citation. Now, for us, that means that we would have to discard one of our goal tokens in order to take a citation token. Then we could put it on our board to complete the set. Now, the problem with that is you don't get any points for citation tokens. For the Saboteur, it means that they can complete their set more quickly and just earn some points. But the good news is they have not worked on heat at all. So right now, they have no heat research. And in fact, the heat research is gone. So that's really not going to help them too much. At least let's hope so. On to the next round. Oh, wait, not yet. Not on to the next round yet, because we have to do this. Doesn't activate. Boom. Move over here, discard. Now, another way that the game can end is if the last experiment tile is put here in the active display. But that looks like the end. On to the next round. Okay, looks like pink spy going to the supply. Professor Lativ moves on. Up, he would take a token here, but it's already gone, so he ignores that. Adds a robot. And now they would change turn order, but they're already first, so they just get 2 points. And they're going to get 2 chemicals, favor the bottom most. And so they're taking those 2. And that's it. Simple turn for the Saboteurs. Okay, I think we are actually ready to build a prototype. I think it's technically known as having a breakthrough, and then we build a prototype. But first things first. Boom, we're going to spend one of our investments. I think we're going to put this one out, this goal, and we're going to put it right here on this top one. Now, that would give us either a voucher of our choice or a chemical of our choice. And again, we don't have to pay the vouchers. I want a chemical, and I want a green chemical. Okay, now we're going to move, and we're going to move to this leftmost spot. That's going to get us a government voucher. And we'll get to do both actions. So let's start with this one. 1 R&D voucher, move on the track, spend a robot. We're going to go right there. That's going to cost a green chemical. Our reward is a machine part of our choice. I'm going to take a white machine part. And keep in mind, you can rearrange these on your turn freely. You don't have to worry about spending a turn or anything. And I'm going to switch those around just like that. You'll see why in a second. I would then get a research token, but they're all gone. So instead, you can see it's written right there. I get an investment tile. And also, if it hadn't been unlocked already, then we would unlock it now. But it's already unlocked, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that was that action. On to the second one. That's going to cost us 2 R&D vouchers. And now you can see here it says that if you have completed your paper, you've published a paper, you can now have a breakthrough. So we're doing it here with the extreme heat, the sun. You look on the tile there. Now, because we're at level 2, that means that we have to spend a science voucher in order to have a breakthrough. And luckily we have one. We then take our breakthrough token and we place it out onto one of those 2 spots. I'm going to put it on the spot that gives me 2 points. Okay, we're now going to build the prototype. So we're going to look at that column, at that branch, and any uncovered gears we then have to spend. And right now you can see that one pink gear is uncovered. And then on the tile itself, at the very top, there's also a little pink gear. So that means we have to spend 2 pink gears. Our robots are covering up 2 other gear spots, so we don't have to spend those gears. We could if we wanted to, because we'll get extra points if we do. But here's the catch. They have to come from the same row on your workshop. And that is one of the reasons why you might want to build your workshop out to the right. So you have a longer row so that you can basically build better prototypes. So as it is, we're going to spend everything from this row, which is just 2 machine parts. And we're now going to get 2 points for every machine part that we spent and every robot that we used. So we used 2 robots, 2 machine parts. We're going to get 8 points for that prototype. We're now at 31 points. And last but not least, we get an award token. One of these babies. And they just sit right there. And we can now, at any point, we don't have to do it right away. We can hold on to it. But at any point, we can place this down here and it can stand in for one of these research tokens for us to help us complete our sets. So if I wanted to, I could pop it in right here and then we'd have that set all complete. But I might want to wait because I might be able to pick that one up. I might want to use this for my water research. We'll see. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind. There's one more spot left on that weather tile. If both of those spots get covered, then you take that weather tile off. We've sort of solved that really bad weather, and then it'll go back to level 1. However, I cannot have 2 tokens on the same tile. The government has their own weather machine over here that we're helping them put together. That's why we're giving them these machine parts. If they ever complete one of these columns, then they'll get to put one of their breakthrough tokens out to help us with the weather. So I might want to try to complete these rows, right? Either the sun or the wind here to get a little extra help dealing with some of that extreme weather. We'll see. But for right now, that's the end of my turn. I can sort of rearrange these things. We come down here. This doesn't activate. Turn order stays the same, and we're ready for the next round. Okay, looks like the pink is going here. Oof, that's not good. So because they went to the leftmost spot, they're going to get both of these actions. The first is just getting an award token, which is going to be wild for them. Let them complete a set. Not good. And now they want to come to one of these places. And yeah, they definitely want to go right here to the wind. Ugh. Yep, they have the chemical for it. So they're going to spend that. Go here. Oh no, this did not work out good. That was a big problem. Yep, and now we have a situation where they can complete a set because of this award token. Now, they actually have 2 sets that they could make. They could either make a winter set there, a snow set, or they could make a wind set. To determine which one they're going to do, we look at this, the previous card here, and it looks like winter is next. So they're going to make a winter set. Unfortunately. So it shows here on their board what happens when they make a set with 3 tokens. In other words, when they don't use one of these unlocks, they discard these tokens. Those go out of the game. They then increase the extreme weather level of that particular type of weather, in this case, snow. So now that's at level 2. They also discard the top card from their deck. And in fact, what would happen here first is they would discard this card, put out the new card, and then they would resolve this. So that means this card's the one getting discarded. And they're going to unlock that weather. Okay, things are getting a little crazy here. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I do know that I want to use one of these. And I think this is the one that I want. This basically says have 3 of these completed. I think I will. So that's got to go right here. I could either get a science or a chemical. I think I want to get a chemical. But what type of chemical do I want? I think I want the white. And now I think we're going to come over here. So we're getting 1 lab and then 2 lab because Professor Lativ is there. And a special rule is when Professor Lativ is to your left in a 2-player game, in addition to getting that extra good, you also get a science voucher as well. So I got that extra lab voucher and a science voucher because Lativ was to my left. And now, of course, he is going to run away. He's going to go here. He always wants to go to the leftmost spot. And, oh yeah, he's going to throw down a robot. Okay. Now, for my action, I want to do this right action. That's going to cost 2 government vouchers. I want to flip this one over. That gives me 2 more science. So now I'm loaded up with science, and that subsidy tile lets me take this action without having to use a voucher. And without having to spend the part, the machine part. So first things first, go up the track. Last robot goes out. Where do I want this robot to go out? I think he's going to go out here. Again, I don't have to spend the part. I can just take it from the supply. It's going to be a blue one. Now the question is, do I want... Yeah, I think I just want this again. So now, just because it's on its orange side, when you take it and bring it into your tableau, it actually gets switched back and goes to the blue side. So you can use it again. And then, most importantly, I get this. Okay, there we go. That's the end of my turn. I'm going to put this out. So now I've gotten my research complete for that one as well. I'm now ready to publish another exciting paper, this time on fog, I believe that is. Unfortunately, this now activates. So it's going to be this tile, and the saboteurs are going to get to take advantage of it. They're getting 3 points. And unfortunately, they get this tile, which means they've completed another set, which is going to come back and haunt us here in a second. Well, at the end of their turn, it'll haunt us, not immediately. And then, of course, that was for the wind, so the wind gets a little worse. Oh, and also, this tile gets taken by the neutral, so that actually goes out of play. So we now have level 2 extreme weather, like almost all the way across the board. That's not great. Okay, and there we go. We're done with that round. Oh, I'm just remembering there's something I wanted to do on my turn. It shouldn't change anything. I forgot to do it, and I want to do it now, because I don't want the Saboteur activating that card. So on your turn, you have a special action in the solo game. I haven't talked about it yet because I haven't really wanted to use it. It's shown right here on this board. It's the call security action. To do the call security action, you pay a voucher based on the location that you're at. Now, I'm here in government. I don't have any more government vouchers, but I'm going to spend a science. You can always spend a science. That's going to let me draw 2 cards. And now, of these three, I'm going to get to place one back on top, one in the discard, and then make one the current plan for the Saboteur. Okay, and it looks like what I want to do is have this be the current plan. I think that means that these are going to be basically the same. So I'll go ahead and put this one on top and put that one in the discard pile. Now, obviously, the problem with doing that is I've now sped up potentially the end of the game because, again, we instantly lose if that deck runs out. So you don't want to do that too often. But I really did want to stop the pink spy from being able to go to that location. Sorry about doing that a little bit retroactively, but nothing had changed on the board. I had meant to do that. Okay, so there we go. So now we finished everything up, and it's now the Saboteur's turn. The gray spy is going right there. Now that's going to be 1, 2. Ugh, my target points just keep getting further and further away. Professor Lativ comes over here. He would take away one of those, but it's not available. That goes right there. And now we're going to do this bottom activity. It's got a red and a pink. Let's see, I'm not sure that either of those really matter. Red, pink could go to either of them. Well, there's only this one out there. This one doesn't help them get set, so I think they're going to go here. Spinning the red. Okay, that was that. Discard, draw. And now another set, unfortunately. So they have the wind. We're now at a level 3 wind event here. That's no good. They discard this top card. And they unlock the wind. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. We're going to use that investment token. Let's put this one out. And we're going to get a good. Going to get a green good. Okay, now we're going to come to supply. We get a science. I'm going to spend... Okay, so we've unlocked these robots down here on our left side. Both because we have all 6 of our robots out, but also we have more than 5 research tokens. So that's the other way we could unlock these. I'm going to spend 2 supply to do this robot. That's going to immediately get me a voucher of my choice. I'm going to spend another 2. That's going to let me do this action up on the track. I'll put the robot here. Okay, that was that. Now the question is, do I spend 2 more to get this last robot? I might, because I'm going to need it, I think. Okay, yep, I'm spending 2 more science. And I'm going to get that robot out, and that'll get me a good. I only have space for 1 type of good. That was my supply action all done. Over here, this does not activate. Oh boy, okay. Getting close here, getting very close. That was all that, and we're done. Okay, it looks like the pink Saboteur is going over with Dr. Lativ. He goes down there, puts out a robot. Oh, and they get a point. Now they only have a pink chemical. Means they really want to go here, I think. And it looks like they're going to favor the top spot. Grab that. Okay, and that's all that they do. Okay, now it's our turn, and a couple things. We can see up here, the game is going to end in 2 rounds. At the end of this round, that last experiment is going to come onto the display. That triggers the end of the game. There's a few in-game triggers, that's one of them. Another in-game trigger would be if someone got 3 of these awards, you get awarded the Nobel Prize, and then that triggers the end of the game as well. Also, if all of the spaces in the government machine here or over here in R&D, if all of those spaces get filled, that's another way of triggering the end of the game. Triggering it in a positive way where we then play out one more round and then we go to final scoring. I've talked about the 2 ways of losing the game, which would be if this deck runs out, or if we have 2 level 3 extreme weather events. That would immediately trigger the end of the game and we would immediately lose. And then there is actual way to have an immediate victory. If at the beginning of your turn, your score is past the target value, and you are successfully completing 4 goals, and if at least 2 of those 3 tracks, you've gotten at least 5 spaces down them. So if you can meet those 3 conditions at the beginning of your turn, then you instantly win. Now, we're nowhere close to that, so that hasn't been an issue. It looks like we're going to trigger the end of the game at the end of this round, and then we'll have one more round, then we're going to go into final scoring. There's not a lot of final scoring. We're going to get 5 points for every goal tile we've successfully met. We'll also get points based on where we are on those tracks. We would get 5 points if we had the Nobel Prize, and that's about it. So we need to get a bunch of points. I don't see how we're going to be able to do this. We had sort of a funky situation here with these experiment tiles where they just came out in such an order that we've had a very short game. And looking at this, I need 3 rounds, and we're only going to have 2. That's the problem that I'm having right now. I just need to get as many points as I can. I don't think it's going to be enough. But having this be such a short game is really a disadvantage. I think just starting right off, let's use this. We're going to use our subsidy here, which is going to let us take an action over here without having to spend the vouchers, which we don't have, which is good. And we won't have to spend the machine part. I want to go here. Oh, I get to move up the track first. That's important. I'm going to go there and get this. And then I'll also get that. Okay. That was my subsidy. Now I think I have a ton of lab vouchers and I can publish here on Fog. And I think that's probably my best bet. There's a lot of different ways I could go here. And the other thing is I could go to that and do both, but I need this robot. So I think I have to just go here. I'll grab an R&D. And then we're publishing, so that's 2 lab vouchers. We're publishing here. And that would let us do a lab action, again, that I don't want to do because I need this robot. And I don't want the robot stuck out there. So unfortunately, we're going to have to ignore that. But we do get to unlock Fog. We can spend a science to get 3 points. And then we're going to score just 2 points for each. So that's 6 more. That gets us to 40. And then lastly, we get an investment tile. Now, we will get to use these investment tiles at the end of the game, like after the game has ended, as part of final scoring. So here, this doesn't go. That triggers the end of the game. So we do one more round and then final scoring. We do come over here, though, and we are going to have some income. So that is something. I'm getting 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and a gear. Is there a gear that I might want? I'll take a white. Okay. Oh, and then at the end of my turn, I need to place this. Might as well put it up here. That gives me a little bonus of moving once on the track. Let's not place this yet. We can hold on to that. And yep, I guess that's it. Okay, he comes here. Gray Saboteur. Coming over here. It's going to get one of those two, the bottom one, and then is going to flip the bottom in the snow. Okay. Now the second action. Let's see here. So either of these two would grow. Has a red, so can't go into any of those. In fact, the only place they can go is here, because they only have this red. So that's where they're going to go. Convert that red into that, and again, they'll take the bottom. That just goes out of the game. They would grab one of those, but there isn't one there, so instead they get 5 points. Yeah, the Saboteurs, they don't take investment tiles. They just get 5 points when they would take one. And that is their turn done. Go like this, go like that. Yep, they don't have any sets. And now it is our last turn. This is the last turn of the game. And let's see if I've done this properly. I'm not sure. I'm going to use this subsidy. This is going to let me come over here, take this action, so I move up on the track. I want to place here. I don't have to pay that chemical cost, but I do have to pay the second one. So I'll just pay with a green. And that benefit gets me another robot. So let's see here. What robot do I want? I'll take this robot that lets me move up on that track. I now have my 10 robots. So that's good. And I get this research. And that will also be good. Oh, and yeah, we do put a pink out there from the supply. Okay. That was my subsidy. Now for my action. I am coming here and I'm going to that spot. I'm first going to do this. That takes one. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get a government voucher. I spent one R&D voucher to do this. I'm going to move up on the track again. Place this robot I just got. We're going to place it over here. I can get a voucher of my choice. I'll take science. And I get this. I now have 5 robots in R&D. So I now have this and this goal complete. I will have this one once I get to put these out. So I have 3 of the 4 goals done. I'm 1 robot short over here of this one. I'm also 1 of these away from that one. And that requires 6 pink. I also won't have that. So we'll have 3 goals met. That'll be 15 points. Now we get to go over here, and I'm going to have a breakthrough. That's going to cost 2 R&Ds, 1 and then a science, and we're going to do fog. So we've written our paper. We can place this out. We'll get 2 points. I've got the green and the white here and 2 robots, so that's 2 for each of those. I also have to spend a science also in order to build my prototype. So that's going to be 8 points for the prototype. Okay, down here to 50. Excellent. And then get an award token there, which is interesting. And that feels like the end of my turn. I don't think there's anything else I can do. So we can place these things out. This can go here so that I can move up 1 more on the track. That's nice. This goes here. This goes here, completing that. So now I have that. And then this, I guess I'll put it here. I don't know, just in case that does something. Or maybe I should go here and maybe I'll be able to move up 1 on that. Get a few more points. Yeah, I don't know. There we go. I think that is the end of the game. Let's go to final scoring. Oh, wait. That's not the end of the game at all. Because we're going to come here, and this is running. So yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. We're both here. We got everything. We're running this experiment. Now, here's the thing. In order to take part in this, I'm going to need to spend 2 science, of which I have none. But there's something that you can do. I haven't had to do it yet. I haven't talked about it, but you have a couple of free executive actions here. And it's just written right up here on your board. And you can spend 3 of any other voucher to get 1 science when you need to spend it. Right now, I need to spend 2 science. I can go 1, 2, 3 science. 1, 2, 3 science. Spend my 2 science to be able to get those 6 points. Beautiful. In addition, you can spend 2 vouchers to change the color of a machine part, and you can spend 2 vouchers to change the color of a chemical. And again, you can't do that willy-nilly. You have to do it when you need to spend those things. Now, this tile is also giving us the ability to perform this action over here, which would be amazing if I had an extra robot, which I don't. So instead, I'll take the investment tile. That's that. And actually, this, I believe, happens in turn order. So this tile actually goes to the Saboteur. They're going to get the 6 points as well. And so I'm just getting 1 science, which doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Now, if there were other experiments that were fully, roboted up there, then you would do those as well here at the end of the game. You get to sort of resolve all of the experiments that can go. None of these other ones can go, so we can stop, and there we go. Now we're done. We can go on to final scoring. So right here before final scoring, we can use our investment tiles that are down here that we haven't used yet. I've got 2 of them. Now, you've seen that you can use investment tiles to bring in these goals onto your board so that they can score. There's a second thing you can do with investment tiles, and that's what I'm going to do with these. You can spend an investment tile to flip one of your gold tokens over. It's still going to score just like it did before, but by flipping it, you can now take advantage of those tracks that are on top. We've been moving up those tracks the whole game. We haven't really taken advantage of them, but this is how you do it. Now, because I flipped one of these laboratory goals, we go up to the laboratory track, and we look at the spaces underneath where our marker is, and we get those advantages. So in this case, it's cumulative, so we're going to get 2 bumps up the science track. And then that little thing there at the beginning, that's saying that when you activate this middle track, you can also activate one of the other tracks. And you get to sort of virtually bump up your marker however many spots it says underneath your marker here. So you see that +3? I can choose one of the other tracks, virtually bump up my marker 3 spaces, and then take advantage. And I want to go here to the R&D track. When I virtually bump it up, my marker will be under that 7 victory point spot. Now on that track, it's not cumulative. You just take one, you just take your furthest marker. You don't get all of the stuff that's below it. But we can get 7 points right now. And honestly, we're just going to do that again with that one. We'll flip this other one over. Now, once you flipped it over, you can't do it again. But we have 2 of them. We would get more science, what we can't hold. But more importantly, we get another 7 points. There we go. That's our markers. Okay, now that we're starting final scoring, there's something we have to do, which is we automatically give the saboteurs 30 points. 10, 20, 30. So they're at 90. That's the amount that we have to meet, or rather beat, right, in order to win the game. Now we're going to get 5 points for every goal that we've completed, We have our 10 robots. We have 5 of them in R&D, and we've completed 3 of these. We did not do that, so that's 15 points. 5, 10, 15. And then the last bit of final scoring we get is up there on top on those tracks, we get the points that are above. So for the blue track there, for the government track, we're getting 3 points. For the middle track, the lab track, we're getting 2. And for the R&D track, we're getting 6. And there you go. That's the end of the game. We've barely squeaked out a win. Just a 6-point victory there. And there you go, everyone. That is a complete solo play of Weather Machine. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.